Good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Today's date is February 13th, 2020. We have two matters on our petition tonight. We are going to take these out of order because the first matter involves a continuance. So the first matter we're going to hear is petition 4841, Robert P. Giglio? Giglio? Yes. And Mariana Giglio. 70 Pond Street, Stoneham, Mass. Property location 44 Matachi Road, South Yarmouth. Zoning District R25. The applicant seeks a special permit under zoning bylaw 104.3.2, excuse me, and/or a variance from bylaw 203.5 footnote D for front stairs and the required front setback above allowed height of 30 inches on a pre-existing non-conforming lot. Are you Mr. Giglio?
Yes.
Could you come forward, please, and to the chair right here and to the microphone? Okay. Now, I did speak with Sandy, our assistant, and she has indicated to me that you wish to have a continuance on this matter. You're still waiting for information from the Conservation Commission, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Did you have a date? Now, are you doing a new plan? Is that what it is for the Conservation?
That's it. Yes.
Right.
We're due back, I think, March 5th.
March 5th?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Okay, and then on the 17th, I'm going in for an operation.
Okay.
So I'm thinking maybe 2 weeks after that.
All right, so towards the end of March?
No,
Yes.
it's in April. Sorry.
March. Yeah, the end of March.
End of March? What's our last meeting date, Sandy, for the end of March?
March 26th.
Does that work for you as far as rehab and everything?
I hope to. I don't know. I'm going in for a hip.
Mr. Chairman, I just had a question. Did anybody tell you you needed to wait to go to Conservation before coming to Board of Appeals?
That's correct.
You do, okay.
Yes.
First step.
The next date would be April 9th.
That's the one I'm looking at. Yeah.
April 9th is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to do April 9th?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that there was a question as whether they may or may not have to come back to us, depending on what Conservation Commission tells them. Excuse me.
This is pretty simplistic. I suspect it's because you had to raise the house.
Yes, plus, just before I put the permit in, they raised me another foot.
Yeah.
So my floor level is like elevation 13,
Yeah.
and the ground is 5.4, I believe.
Yeah.
So it brings me way up.
The step has to come out further. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's what happened.
Yep.
Okay. I do have one bit of correspondence that's from Edward W. Peetnick Jr., Esquire. Excuse me. Well, it's also by James O'Brien. It says here, Sandy, thank you for speaking with me yesterday. As advised, Robert and Mariana Giglio of 44 Matachi Road are seeking an agreement with the ZBA to continue tonight's hearing from February 13th before the Yarmouth ZBA to a future date certain. My understanding is that the ZBA is in agreement with continuing tonight's hearing and that the hearing cannot go forward without first receiving a revised plan from the Giglios. Since the matter concerning 44 Matachi Road is not going forward tonight, there is no need for Regina and Alfred O'Shea, pardon me, of 50 Matachi Road or this office to attend. Please forward the new hearing date at your earliest convenience. Thank you, and please advise if matters should change. Very truly yours, James O'Brien. And he's also Edward Pytek, Esquire, of Raynham, Massachusetts. Anyone else? I don't think we need to have any questions. All right, so we've agreed to continue this matter till April 9th?
9th, right?
Okay, what I will need you to do is to sign an extension.
Okay.
You're in agreement with that. Anyone prepared to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Barron, seconded by Mr. Martin to continue this matter until April 9th.
9th.
All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. It's unanimous. If you could just come up and sign this before you leave.
Okay.
All right. I'm just going to have you sign right next to the blue right there. Thanks a lot. Okay, we're all set for tonight. We'll see you on April 9th.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a good surgery.
See, he's applying for conservation just because it's floodplain.
Is that why? Because they're in floodplain?
Just because it's floodplain, I guess, yeah.
I couldn't figure it out.
That's
because
the only reason. There's
Manatee Road's
nothing there.
not near any wetlands.
But I
not
think
that
anything in the floodplain now has to.
Okay, all right. Interesting. Learn something new every day.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the next matter, which is petition 4840, Thomas J. Conley and Celia Conley of 915 West Yarmouth Road, Yarmouth Port. It's in an R40 zoning district. The applicant seeks a special permit under zoning bylaw number 407 and/or a variance from zoning bylaw 407.2, number 7, for a family-related apartment exceeding 800 square foot maximum requirement. Are you, Mr. and Mrs. Conley? Would you step forward, please, to the table? How you doing?
Very good. How are you?
Good. Could you just tell us a little bit about your petition?
Sure. We purchased this property on November 15th of 2019, and we weren't aware because at the way it was advertised by the realtor was that it was an approved in-law apartment. I actually have a copy of that real estate listing here. And, so basically, we, purchased the property assuming that it was a legal in-law apartment. Then we found out after the fact that it wasn't.
Okay.
And it was, apparently they had some, they started the process back in 1984, which was 2 owners ago. And so they started the process, but they never completed it. And so then, the second owners didn't do anything about it, and then, we own it now, and we're trying to make it legitimate.
Okay, okay. And when you bought the property, was it finished at the time?
It was all finished.
It was all finished. Okay, okay. And so tonight, your intent is to make this a family-related apartment?
Correct. This is my stepson, Marcos,
Hi, Marcos.
and, he would be living there.
Okay, all right. Okay. And I see that you have submitted an affidavit here stating that he would be the person living there. Okay. All right. Do you have anything else you'd like to add at this time?
No, I mean, I had some blueprints, drawings drawn up, and, kind of, and, the square footage, I think, is like 856 square feet.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah, you're in excess of what the bylaw allows by 56 square feet. Okay. For purposes of what we consider tonight, I think what we're going to be considering is a variance, not a special permit. because they're creating a new nonconformity. And I have some correspondence from Jim Brandolini that suggests the same, so. So why don't we can look at it under the variance criteria right now. And did you want to add anything else right at this moment?
Not at this moment.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do now is open this up for questions from the board. All right?
Okay.
Okay. And Mr. Barron, do you have any questions?
Yeah, on the plans, I have one question. On the garage level, there seems to be a doorway next to the area that looks like the foundation for the chimney. Is that doorway to connect the separate apartment with the rest of the house?
It connects the garage to the basement of the existing house.
Okay, so in other words, the two units will have that as the only linkage between them
Correct.
at the garage level. It doesn't show on the first floor or the second floor, so with the exception that you can cross over each other's decks.
Right.
Other than that, I have no questions.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Thank you, good evening. So looking at these nice plans you made up, they're wonderful.
I didn't draw them.
Yes, I know, yes. So it looks like the total excluding closets and storage is 799 square feet. So it's just those, looks like 2-bedroom closets and the linen that puts you over by 56 square feet. So to me, I think that's a really modest and incidental thing, and so I kind of feel your pain, but I can live with that. So that's all I have to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Dick?
Yeah, and I think it's a small amount that's being looked for. Needless to say, you should have been given proper information to begin with, and that's unfortunate. But 56 square feet is not too big. I've been one that's kind of thinking that square footage should go up a little bit anyways on those. And and I think it's going to meet the criteria for a variance. There's a certain hardship going on at this point too, I'm sure, based on what you thought you were buying, et cetera. And certainly don't see that this would cause any undue nuisance, et cetera, to the neighborhood. So I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Tim?
I have no comments.
No comments. Okay. All right. I don't have any questions myself. I am in agreement with what I've heard from the board. I do think it's a reasonable request here, just a little bit over. We have had instances in the past where it's exceeded the 800 square feet. We do look at that on a case-by-case basis because the bylaw does say that you can only be 800. But if it's existing, I mean, if we really wanted to literally enforce it, we'd have to have you close it off and decrease the square footage to meet the 800, and I don't think that that's fair to you. Certainly would be a financial hardship for you to have to undertake that, and it really doesn't seem to make any sense to me, and I suspect to the rest of the board, to have you do that. And I don't think that the purpose and intent with the bylaw was to have somebody do that as well, especially for such a small amount. You know, you bought it believing that what you were buying was legal, and I know a lot of people do that, and I think Dick can probably attest that he's seen that advertised a lot in the industry.
I try and catch it when I can.
Yeah.
And with other people's listings.
Yeah.
Definitely with my listings.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's unfortunate because, and just do be aware when, you know, that this is an accessory apartment, and it doesn't mean that somewhere down the future you can't rent it as a rental apartment. So So, and even if it's changing hands, it's supposed to come back to the Board of Appeals for reapproval as again, an accessory apartment. So just remember that and for future reference.
Okay.
Okay. Did you have anything else to add at this time?
Not at this time.
All right. Then what we're going to do is we're going to close it to public comment. And I see no one in the audience. I presume you don't want to speak to this petition. You're part of the subject of the petition, so I'll just presume that. Seeing no one in the audience, what I'm going to do is I am going to close this to board discussion. Have I read this into the, oh, I haven't read what, you have other correspondence?
Butter? Isn't it butter? Yeah.
Oh, is that this one right here? Okay, we have some correspondence from Cy Boynton concerning your petition. Dear Ms. Clark, thank you for taking time last Tuesday to show me the most pertinent details, starting points, and provisions of this petition. My wife, Vicki Boynton, and I have looked at it, talked on it, and come to feel comfortable with the stipulations of the variance agreement that the Conley family will live under only one single family as applied for on the notarized affidavit. January 2nd, 2020, in the 5-bedroom home is key to our satisfaction of the arrangement. Family makeup as applied for sounds much like that of the previous residents who lived under the same or similar stipulation dating back to 1983. We are hopeful that the Conley family will be like the good, neat neighbors, previous and adjacent. We welcome the Conleys as soon as we see them. I think that should welcomed. We welcomed the Conleys as soon as, well, we're going to welcome you as soon as we see them. I think that's what he's trying to say. That's not what he wrote, but I'll paraphrase. Very truly yours, Cyrus and Victoria Boynton. And they're from 96 Shaker House Road. Application for a permit to build, that dates back to 1983. That's part of the file. I have a letter dated December 12th, 2019. Is that back when you started this process? Is that when you?
Well, that's when I came in and met with Jim.
Yeah.
And Jim suggested I have the drawings made up, and then
I
he
see.
sent a follow-up letter afterwards to make sure I was following up.
Okay, all right. This is a letter from the Building Department, specifically James Brandolini, the Deputy Building Commissioner, concerning property located at 915 West Yarmouth Road, second floor apartment. Dear Mr. Conley, this is to serve as a follow-up to our November 21st, 2019 meeting with Sandy Clark concerning the creation of an unpermitted separate living dwelling unit above the garage. The following issues were discussed. Building permit number 581 was issued on October 24, 1983 to allow the construction of an attached garage containing 2 bedrooms, 1 full bath, den, living room, a deck, and a laundry room. That permit contained a condition that stated not to be used as a 2-family dwelling. Details were provided you on how to petition the Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to bylaw 407, family-related apartment. A cursory review of the floor plan revealed the square footage may exceed 800 square feet. A more detailed plan is required to make a definitive determination. I stated that should the square footage exceed this limit, excluding closets and storage, I think that should say including closets and storage, it would necessitate
Including, yeah.
it would necessitate of a variance from the board as well. You agreed to have a qualified individual measure and draft a floor plan depicting the total square footage. Because this unit violates the provisions of 780 CMR Section 105 and zoning bylaw Table 202.5-5, footnote 48, this matter requires immediate attention. As of this date, we have not heard back from you on this matter. Accordingly, as discussed, remedial action is necessary. Please contact this officer, Sandy Clark, and provide us with the progress you have made. Very truly yours, James D. Brandolini, Deputy Building Commissioner. And it would be noted for the record that you have followed up on that. You filed all the necessary permits, and you do appear before us tonight.
Yes.
I'm just thinking about something, man. Okay. Well, it's determined by the building department that it requires a variance. I tend to agree with it because we are violating what's allowed under the bylaw and creating a new nonconformity, so we would go with the variance criteria.
Correct.
So, does anybody have anything else to add?
Just need a special permit too, then, or?
No, we won't need a
Just the
special,
variance, okay.
just the variance, yeah. So, I think a literal enforcement of this bylaw, as I discussed before, that is, having you reduce this from your 856 to 800 to meet the bylaw, would represent a hardship, financial hardship to you. So I do think you meet the criteria there. I think desirable relief can be granted to you without substantial detriment to the public good or nullifying or substantially degrading from the intent and purpose of the bylaw. Because I think when they passed this bylaw, they probably foresaw that someone would come in on either side. You know, you're a little bit more than you should be, but gives us the latitude and the authority to grant you relief on this. Not only you, but other people that are going to come before us as well. And as I indicated to you before, that we have had these in the past. The second prong, however, is a little bit more difficult to meet, and that's the hardship is owing to circumstances related to soil conditions, shape, or topography of such land or structures, and especially affecting such land or structures, but not affecting generally the zoning district in which is located. I think if we're looking at the structure that especially affects this land, that we're not affecting generally the zoning district. So I think you do meet the criteria under the second part of the variance criteria. So having said that, I do think they meet the criteria for a variance. Does anybody else wish to comment on that?
You're right on, Mr. Chairman.
Sounds good to me.
Mr. Chairman, you're saying the shape of the land. I think the issue is that the house was built in 1962, so there's no new shape or new alteration of the existing property. So I question whether or not that would pertain.
Well, we have 3 criteria that we must meet in order to grant a variance.
Yeah, but I think that's a pretty weak one.
Okay, do you have a better one?
It's an existing building.
Well, unfortunately, existing building, they're not grandfathered. So,
I yield.
I mean, I just want to bring that to your attention. We can't look at this as a legally pre-existing, non-conforming structure.
In 83.
It doesn't predate the zoning change. Does it?
All right, I'm not going to argue that.
But it,
I'm not sure. It's, I don't disagree with what Tom's saying. It's hard to meet these particular criterias. On the other hand, a lot of other things going on here, and unfortunately, I'm not quite sure how we get around that, to be honest with you. The apartment's been there since '83, you said?
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, I think if they do have a problem with the second element, which everybody does, I think that we as a board have to look at this and take the first element and the third element and look at those more controlling than the second. And that is, we can ask this petitioner to reduce the size, but it's going to be a financial hardship to him. And I don't believe, and I don't know that that's fair, and I don't think that we've had other petitioners in front of us that we've required that. And I don't think that by us granting the relief to this petitioner that we're going to nullify the purpose and intent of the bylaw. So I think we're good on that. So it would be my suggestion that I think that we can grant this variance. And of course, we have the authority to grant a variance, but for someone withstanding, objecting to this variance within the 20-day appeal period, then the variance will stand. So we could grant it tonight if there is someone that agrees with Mr. Barron and wishes, and who has standing to appeal the decision and does so within the 20-day appeal period, then you may have to take this over to the Superior Court. But I don't see anybody in the audience. I don't have any correspondence from anybody suggesting that they're in opposition. So if we were to grant it, and I am inclined to recommend to the board, at least my position, that we should grant it, then once the 20-day appeal period has passed, if no one withstanding appeals it, then your variance is fine. You understand that?
I understand.
Okay. Anyone else care to comment?
Just, again, under number 2, which is the one in question,
No.
I think because it's talking about structures and the fact that not generally affecting the zoning district in which it is located, which is in R40, I think there's some precedent there that, depending on interpretation, it might be covered under that, too.
Well, it says the hardship is owing to circumstances relating to the soil condition, shape, or topography of such land or structures.
It's the or structures that comes up.
Yeah, and we are talking about a structure.
Yeah.
Now, we have had some petitioners before us that have made some creative arguments relative to,
Right.
and they have had some case law, which I don't have in front of me tonight, that talks about structures on how that affects the land and how it may not affect the land. Because it is very difficult to really meet the criteria of a variance. I would actually have almost thought that the legislature would have actually tried to amend it over the years to give it a little bit more latitude for just those 3 things. You know, the soil conditions, the shape of the topography of the
Or
land.
2 out of 3.
Wait, you only need 1, okay? But it's tough. It is tough. But again, I think we can grant this tonight. I think we should grant it tonight. I think it's a reasonable request. If the building department feels that it needs a variance, it is a new nonconformity. A new nonconformity, if it's not an extension or alteration, which this isn't, it's already there. So it's not like
I mean,
they're
they're caught in this catch-22, needing the variance. If you were coming for a special permit right now, this is the type of thing which it's not unusual for us to grant as brand new, and here you have a existing circumstance that it's beyond your control, and so it certainly makes plenty of sense, I think, to give the relief.
See, and he makes a good point, too, because let's say that it was not finished upstairs.
Right.
then you can come here before us on a special permit.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Of course, we probably would have a problem with the exceeding the 800 and might make you just do 800 at that point, but the point is that it could be an extension or alteration to a legally pre-existing structure, legally pre-existing non-conforming structure. Although this one may be conforming, I don't know. But at any rate, I think we are dealing here with a variance tonight. And so I've suggested
If I may, Mr.
my
Chairman.
reasoning.
Yeah, if I may, when we created our zoning bylaws and we created this Board of Appeals, we created a avenue for the residents to come before us so they can make their case, and we as the board have the pleasure to meet one of those criteria, and as we all work unitedly to come up with a vote, I think that it does quantify that from what we are allowed to do within our bylaws, that we can make the right appropriate move, even if it doesn't meet all three, but it does meet 2 out of the 3. I think we feel very comfortable that these folks have got themselves in a little quagmire and they're trying to do the right thing, and that to me has a lot of warrant. So,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Dick put it best. It's a catch-22. We just unfortunately can't go the special permit route, which is a lot easier for us. It's much more broad.
Right.
It's basically not more substantially detrimental, which, that's quite a broad phrase right there. You got a lot of latitude there, very subjective. This one's not as easy. Anyone else care to comment? Anyone prepared to make a motion?
I move that we grant the petition 4840 for a variance under zoning bylaw 407.27.
Okay.
Second. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, missed it.
Okay, hold on one second here. Before we get to the last, this one right here, can I just stop for 1 second? Who made who made the motion on the last one?
I did, I guess. Did I? No, I
So Tom
seconded it. I
did,
seconded
you
it.
seconded, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Tom made the first one.
Tom, you, on the first one, you made the motion?
Yes.
Tom,
First one.
the first petition,
yes, to continue.
the continuance. You made that one, didn't you, Mr. Barra?
Yes, yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to
Yes.
interrupt, but I
Yes.
didn't write
Yes.
that down, all
Yes.
right. And Dick, did you second it?
The first one I did, yeah.
Okay, seconded by. Okay.
We need him to withdraw the special permit.
Yeah, in just a second.
Yeah.
I just want to look at something real quick before we go to a vote on this. Okay. So the 407.2, number 7, accessory apartment shall be no larger than 800 square feet, including all habitable space, closets, and storage. So the letter that Mr. Brandolini wrote should be corrected, because he said, I stated that should the square footage exceed the limit, excluding closets and storage, it would necessitate a variance. It should say including closets and storage.
Habitable space. With closets and...
No, actually, I think it's
It's
800 total square feet. Yeah.
800 total?
Yeah, including closets.
including all habitable
All right.
space, closets, and storage. Yeah, we include everything. Some towns don't, but Yarmouth does. Okay, so
You have a 5x6.
the variance is really based on, you meet let me back up here a bit. Just to further the discussion, that when looking at the, and this is discussion on the motion, and I just wanted to add that the petitioner meets all the criteria under 407.2, but for number 7. Specifically, he makes 1 through 6 and 8 and 9, so he's in compliance with that. He's not in compliance with number 7 because he exceeds the 800 square feet. That's the only reason he needs the variance. So that will be put in the decision. Motion made by Mr. Barron, seconded by Mr. Kelly. To approve the variance.
That wasn't me, I didn't second it.
No, actually, it
Oh,
was
that was, no, I
Mr.
didn't
Nicolau.
second that one.
We'll get this right, don't worry. All right. Motion made by Mr. Barron, seconded by Mr. Nicanello. And that's to approve the variance. Condition number 7.
No, the town doesn't know it.
Do we have any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously. Now, as soon as I write the decision, which won't be tomorrow, but it'll be in a few days, then that's going to be clocked in with Sandy, the town clerk. I know she's smiling right there. It might be a few days, so don't call it the day after tomorrow.
Yeah.
But she'll let you know when it's ready. Then you can come in, pick it up. You have to take it over at this, once it's clocked with the town clerk, then a 20-day appeal period must lapse.
Okay.
After the 20 days is elapsed, then you can come back over here, pick it up from Sandy. You need to take it to the board of, the Registry of Deeds, record it, bring a copy back to the board so we have it in the file.
Okay.
Any questions?
No?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, we wish you the best.
Appreciate it.
Okay, take care now.
Thank you.
Oh, you're gonna,
Oh, excuse me, I need you to, I just need you to do one thing, if you could just have one seat here. The board members are very good at keeping an eye on me, and that, you also asked for a special permit. Now, what we would need you to do is we would either have to vote on the special permit tonight, take some action on it, which if we did, we deny you, which I would not recommend, or you can ask that you can withdraw the request for special permit without prejudice, which means if you wanted to come back in the future, if you needed to, you could do that.
Okay.
Would you like to withdraw your petition for special permit without
Yes, I would.
prejudice? Okay, anybody make a motion to that?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Martin, Mr. Barron,
No, Mr. Nicanello.
Mr. Nicanello, okay. All right, variance. Okay, so, Mr. Martin on the withdrawal, Nicanello, second, withdraw, SP without prejudice. Okay, very good, we're all set.
Okay.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, have a nice night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Get some minutes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Get to the minutes in a minute.
Yeah, give me 1 minute.
The minutes are on perfect, we don't need music.
Variance.
Get a vowel. One set. One paper. I'll use-
I didn't see it. I didn't see it, no.
Nicanello. Barron.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, good night. Good night.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Okay, 2/13/20. All right, continue till 4/9. I
He said 2 weeks,
go.
but that didn't work. There's no 2 weeks in March. from the 17th.
Canelo, that's right. Canelo, Baron, Kelly. Continued,
On the other side.
continuance, we have that signed in here, yes, we do. Okay.
In the skyscraper or something? Yeah, it's, yeah. Top of the pool and, yeah.
All right, we have minutes from November 14th.
Yep.
And December 12th and January 9th.
Yep.
Has everyone reviewed the minutes?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion, we accept the minutes in bulk.
Second?
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries. The minutes of November 14th, December 12th, and January 9th have been approved by the board. Motion to adjourn?
Yep.
Yes.
So moved.
Second?
Second? No?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Nay. Doesn't carry, we're still in session.